Hello, everybody. Welcome here. We've got Nick Carno from Climate Sense, who we're very appreciative for his time today to discuss his work in the philanthropic world. And also joined with me, we've got Tiffany and Aubrey from the Fangs team, and I'm Jake from Mogul Productions, which is the marketplace helping launch this fantastic piece of IP. So, with that being said, I'll pass it over firstly to Nick to give a quick introduction on your background and kind of tell us a bit about Climate Sense and what you guys do.
Sure. I'm Nick, and I founded Climate Sense with a bunch of friends. I want to say 5 years ago, here in Los Angeles. My day job is that I'm an environmental prosecutor. So I work in the courts, in the city attorney's office, in the environmental justice unit, specifically kind of going after polluters, whether it be people who are dumping hazardous materials, hazardous waste, or illegally storing them, or oil spills, or oil wells, trafficking of animals and ivory and chrome platers and scrap yards. And I mean, we handle just a wide variety of cases, but as you can probably see by my description, we just handle kind of violations, which tend to be pollution events that harm the environment. So we're always showing up after the harm has happened, and have to do that job for a while. And you kind of begin to say, well, it would be really fun to work on a project where you're actually helping build, remediation and recovery for the environment. Whether that be tree plantings or urban gardens or conservation efforts, anything that can kind of maybe reverse the course of the environmental degradation that we're witnessing. And my particular area of interest was climate change, and I want to say it was in '07. I'd seen Inconvenient Truth, I think, in 2006, and it was in 2007 I joined Al Gore's Climate Reality Project and went to Nashville, and he trained us on how to give the presentation. And I started doing a lot of those in a lot of town halls and schools and different places. But I really wanted something that was more active. So started Climate Sense with some friends. We're all volunteers. We each just have our own little area of expertise. Mine is connecting with a lot of local nonprofits that are already doing the work. They're already doing tree planting, that are doing urban gardens, they're doing these things, but finding projects where we could crowdfund and raise money for and enhance and really promote the work, and also tell the story of what they're doing and how that pertains to climate. It's one thing to plant a tree, but how is that actually helping the climate? Composting or solar or anything else, and putting actual metrics to it, measuring the effects. And that was a crowdfunding platform, like I said, was launched a couple years ago. We have worked with doing kelp restoration. We worked on e-waste recycling, solar for a homeless shelter. I mean, just numerous projects. And my friends, again, graphic designers, some was coding some tech assets for us. Others worked in other areas in software. And so we all just kind of put our skills together to kind of do this. And it's what we like to do. And it's grown. And we've now partnered with another organization called Breathe SoCal. They were, I think, affiliated with the American Lung Association back in the day, but they're very much focused on air quality and the health effects of that. And we've done an initiative together called Blue Sky LA, which is, again, the same model, doing monthly projects in different parts of the city that are reducing air pollution, helping with heat mitigation, and the whole concept is that if we can just do these once a month, we can actually maybe make a difference with Los Angeles, which in 2028 is going to host the Olympics. And right now, with the worst air quality and some of the worst heat issues in the country, we hope to maybe get a lot more notoriety, a lot more partnership to really build and scale our work so that we can maybe change that story, make LA a little bit more sustainable, a little bit cooler, better air quality. By the time, I don't know, millions of people are going to come to this city, you're going to come, but it's going to feel like a lot. So that's everything in a nutshell.
No, thanks for the context and the level of detail. That's fantastic. So obviously, yeah, it sounds like you've been involved in the climate space for quite some time, and everything from storytelling to bringing communities together, and being quite multifaceted in regards to some of the problems that you're helping solve. Was there anything like in particular that maybe like spurred you on to start this kind of climate sense specifically? Was that something like locally you've seen, or is that just kind of like an accumulation of things you've kind of witnessed over your time in working within this industry?
Well, yeah, when I saw Inconvenient Truth and I knew I wanted to work on climate issues, I had I was just a regular line prosecutor here in the office, and I knew that I wanted to go into environmental justice. And once I got into the unit, I kind of saw that sadly our work does a lot to keep a check on industry, I would say, and polluting industries, but it doesn't prevent it as much. What happened was that there was a large oil spill that I was involved in, and I was talking to one of the regulators at the time, and I said, "Well, hey, like, good news is that it seemed like the cleanup was really good, and that we might have contained a lot of the spill." And he said, "Well," he goes, "Yeah, it was good, but you have to understand that the best cleanup we've ever had in any kind of major oil spill has been about 30%. uh, Oil and diesel and other things can just spread so quickly through the marine environment that your ability to collect it." He goes, "If you get 10% of what was spilled, I mean, that's great." And I just remember getting so depressed by that. So I began to think of like, what ways can we combat this? If the oil and the diesel is already out in the marine environment, how do we help clean? Because that's the air for the fish, essentially, right? And it's the food for the plant life and everything else. How do we clean that? And I started getting really into bioremediation, meaning how natural systems begin to really kind of cure themselves of these problems. And so I started reading about kelp and seagrass and shellfish that are all filters for hydrocarbons and other pollutants, and they can actually clean and oxygenate the water. And I became amazed by that. So that's when I got deep into the kelp restoration stuff. And I realized that there's people out there doing it. They're helping bring back these amazing wildlife forests where it brings back all the wildlife and the biodiversity and everything you want, but that they could use some help just like anywhere else. And so I was thinking, the public doesn't know this. And this is an amazing story. And with just a little bit of money, you can actually bring back a whole forest under the water. And not only that, just the wildlife comes back, it all just regenerates. And it can happen in something like 3 to 4 months, which is amazing. I don't know any other forest you can bring back in that short amount of time. And then I began to think, well, how much carbon is being, sequestered in this? And we started doing the research on that. And this story just needed to be told and the work needed to be done. And so I began to think, what other projects are there out there that can do stuff like this? And that's when we began to find all sorts of nonprofits doing all sorts of amazing work in and around the area. And we thought, why do we have to invest in rainforests in Brazil? Why don't we help fight climate change right here in our own communities where people can see it, participate in it, get involved, and we can maybe change people's mind from thinking that the world is all gloom and doom, and there's nothing I can do, to, hey, wait a second, I can do something here in my own community that can make a difference. So that was the idea.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. And yeah, so I guess like as a bit of a segue to what you were discussing, like a big part of solving climate issues and conservation is obviously technology, and technology is obviously a pretty broad word, but can be applied in anything from from a scientific use case to a financial or a community building one. And obviously the NFT world has kind of been pretty disruptive form of technology where it's been used to community building, driving financing, unlocking experiences for fans. I guess what's your kind of personal viewpoint in regards to tapping into new technologies to help, solve problems at scale and do it in an efficient manner?
So I try to think of the work we do and how we would do it without some of the kind of like modern, technological assets that we use. I first there's just the organizing aspects of just kind of reaching people and talking to people. Then there's the crowdfunding platform that we had built in our first model that made it super easy for people to participate when they have lived really busy lives and they can't actually physically maybe go and help on a project. And then we begin to think of all the different ways we want to scale. And you know, I I know that like the technology, um, assets and the strategies that we have are going to be key in us being able to achieve these things. They just the efficiencies and the ability um, to just get so many people involved, to reach so many people, to really give them that opportunity that they want, but they just don't know a way to get there. Um, it's going to be huge. Now, we have not, as of yet, employed any uh, NFTs or any kind of like cryptocurrencies or any of that type of technology into this space. And I was interested to kind of read about, crypto fangs and everything else and some of the ideas here. And it's kind of like, you know, eye opening to say the least, and really starts to make you think, is this a new way, a new, you know, and I just think that it's filled with possibilities, and I'm excited to kind of learn more and figure out, how the application would happen. But if it means bringing in more finance, if it means bringing in more of a collective action towards people and in reaching people and giving them a chance to be part of the movement of helping really kind of restore, the environmental problems that we have, I'm I'm a yes. I just,
Which
we're yeah, it's just where how it actually applies and how it works is where I need to what I need to learn.
It's definitely, I guess, foreign to a lot of people because it is such a new technology. But one thing that I've definitely noticed personally is that, at least in regards to solving climate issues, is that there's no doubt a lot of this younger generation are becoming more aware of it. They want to get more engaged, and they're also very much, technologically savvy, for lack of a better word, where they're looking to explore new ways to get involved with communities and things like that. And digital ownership, I think, is just a natural extension of the world we're living in. With, we're talking on Zoom now, everything happens online. You see your doctor online, so owning things online is just a thing that's happening in the not too distant future for people. But I think it's really cool, as you had mentioned earlier, just even on a local level. I think it can be sometimes overwhelming for people to get wrapped up in all, like, where do I start, or where do I begin with what problem I'm going to solve. But you guys, three of you on this call, are all based in LA, and there's problems happening outside your back doorstep with, endangered animals getting disrupted from, land being purchased and stuff like that. So I think that is a kind of a cool thing to, always look over your shoulder and think, how can I help with the community that I'm in at the moment?
Yeah, yeah. The As of now, it's funny, the hurdle, and I was talking to Aubrey about this a little bit before. Um, Sometimes new technologies come on and they kind of get there's an initial attitude in terms of um, you know and usually it's what people just don't understand, what I mean, and not be able to see sort of like connections or ways that it can work in harmony with certain. And when I first thought of like NFTs for conservation, like it just kind of you know created a mental block because I couldn't picture it or didn't understand. um and there is going to be an education kind of like curve, for some people, even those in the environmental community, because I know in studying a lot of environmental solutions, there's just a lot of new technologies that have like completely changed or completely different than what people assume, and there's going to need to be a period where people are educated over time, so they begin trusted on it. And so, that'll happen, and it will happen in time. So, but we're usually pretty open-minded and eager to learn, and want to know exactly, all the benefits and how it can work out. And so, in that respect, yeah, this is a new frontier. This is all new stuff. So, how's it going to work? Let's, we got to be open-minded and figure out, especially when it can make things so much better and so much easier. Something to really take seriously.
Yeah, that's yeah, I think the easiest way that I usually describe with people is that, if we're trying to identify what specific problems that we can solve, yeah, because I think with the whole technology side, you can sometimes lose people. But if we go back to what problems are in hand and how we're helping solve that, like one of them is obviously community fundraising is the first vehicle, and then secondly, digital communities and bringing people together and kind of new mediums, and also using it as a launch pad to kind of get the story out there in front of a new audience and kind of tap into existing audiences. But yeah, I'd love to pass it over to Tiffany, to kind of maybe give her 2 cents on the kind of reason why they started, and the kind of what she's excited about to tie in with Climate Sense.
I mean, I think I'm definitely echoing much of what Nick has said already too. I mean, I was inspired much the same way, but I lived in a neighborhood where a lot of the land was getting bought up for massive development, and this land actually abuts against the causeway for the Santa Monica Mountains. And I was finding that these animals were getting run over, and a lot of these different habitations that these animals were living in were becoming more and more endangered just for development. And so I found that it's very hard to ask one institution to buy a piece of land and conserve it and spend the money to do that. But with the launch of the crypto space and the ability to create a community across the world for different platforms and different beliefs, and the way that I've seen crypto community members be a massive support in that. I mean, we could have somebody be involved with us that lives in Mumbai or Greece, and they want to help us conserve land across the world. So at least for our purposes, we thought LA was a perfect landing point because of the unique habitat that Los Angeles actually has. And to abut that against the development that's unnecessarily happening across the city, I just became more passionate about being able to use those two tools to actually help advance conservation in a unique way, and to give people in our group and in our community the power to decide what to do. I mean, our mission is to buy land and conserve it and donate it to those people who really know what to do with it, whether that be conservationists, tree conservationists, anywhere from let's decide to plant trees to building, more of trails for animals, and watering holes and all kinds of fun stuff that we can actually go back to our community about and get their input on how to further advance this plan of conserving land. So with what Nick is doing, I think it parlays a lot, and we want to work on projects together and create a bigger community, not only in the crypto sphere, but like really bringing awareness in all kinds of different avenues on the mission. So.
Thanks, Tiffany. So I guess I know you're a busy group of people, so we can wrap things up here. But Nick, how would people listening get in contact with you and kind of learn a bit more about what you guys have going on over at Climate Sense?
Sure. Right now, my email is just nick@climatesense.org. Sense is CENTS, like pennies. Our newer website is blueskyla.org, and Blue Sky was a term that was used from the Vancouver Olympics when they were trying to go carbon neutral. And since that's been kind of our main thrust, we, asked them if we could use the name. They said sure. And Blue Sky LA was born. This is the new initiative that we're kind of starting. So that's, so definitely check out the website. We're still just starting this. So like we're building the website as we go. But if you have any particular questions or anything, you can feel free to email me directly at nick@climatesense.org. Awesome.
Thank you, Nick, for your time.
Lovely to chat with you. Nice to meet you, Nick. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be in touch again, but thanks very much for explaining a bit about what you do. And excited to get this out there in front of a new audience.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks so much, everybody. Talk again soon.